Hello guys, I'm Super Ron, welcome back to the channel and we are back down the G unit, and this week I've got a little job to do on my daily driver Mk5 Golf. The other day we went to roll down the passenger window, it made all sorts of crunches noises and now does nothing. So this is a typical sign that the window regulator wire has snapped, so we've got a replacement and that's what we're going to change today. But it is a little bit of a weird procedure to do on these Mk5s because you have to go full Terminator mode and strip off the door skin. But don't worry, it's not as daunting as it looks, and today we're going to run through how to do it. So yeah, on these Mk5s, the door skins actually unbolt and you get to the regulator from this side. Traditionally, you take the door card off and everything is on the inside, but for some reason, Volkswagen decided to put all these on the outside and have this panel bolt off. So we're going to run through that today and get this regulator fitted on. So even though Volkswagen did put all the regulator on the other side, they still put the electric motor on this side. So you do still have to take the door card off and access that from this side. But they're quite easy to do. This little handle panel just pops off. It's got some little clips holding it on. Just little clips there, locate in. And you've got one T30 here. Magnetic, so you don't drop it. And another one up here. It's that one. And then you've got three T15s under here in those little indents. Three. And then you've got one last T15 up there in the corner. And that one is a lot shorter than the other three at the bottom. And then with your trim tool, go around the outside, pop in the poppers. And pull up. And then you've just got the cable for the handle and a few wires to disconnect. Release that and unhook that. All that's got is just a little tab you pull back and then it slides out. And then we've just got the speakers. Got one speaker and the electric window, and we're free. And that then reveals the electric motor. So on these, the motor is also the door module. So you've got a lot of wires going into that, and that controls the lock-in, the mirror, the speakers, everything goes into this module. So we'll unplug this, then we've got 3 bolts to take off, and that will slide out. 1, 2, and then we just got 3 T25s, and the motor comes off. So now it's time to reveal the Mk5's secret, and that is under this trim here. So that just pops off, like so. It's just got little clips along there that go in them holes, and that reveals all of these bolts. And that's what you take off to release the door skin. So before we undo these bolts to take the door skin off, we have to take the door handle off. And to do that, you'll see a little sticker, and that's covering up a hole here. And in there is a tiny little Torx that we need to undo to release the lock. And if I get the torch right, you can just see it down the hole there. That's what we've got to undo. Not all the way, just enough to release the end cap. So you pull the handle out with one part of your hand, and then with your fingers, you just apply a little bit of pressure, pulling this out. And then you undo the screw until it releases the end cap. And there's the lock mechanism out. Obviously on the driver's side, you can have a door lock in there. Let that back in. And it's got this little tab that holds the cable in. So you hook that out. And pull back, and the handle comes out. And then we've just got this tiny little screw here we've got to take off, and that will release the housing from the door skin. Like that. Everything else stays there. Right, let's put this into Terminator mode. So now it is just a case of going around the edge, undoing all these screws. Now there's 3 different lengths of screws. You'll see here on the diagram. So we kind of keep them in order, but there's short ones, long ones, and ones with bits on the end. So as I take them out, I'll place them on the floor in the right order, and then they'll go back in the same place. Otherwise, when you go to put the wrong ones in the wrong hole, they'll bottom out and won't do up. So you can see here, we've got 2 different lengths, one with a bit on the end and one flat. And the same along the bottom. You can see mine's looking a little bit sad under here. got some rust. But again, just take all these bolts off, making note of what goes where. And then the last few down this side. And now the door skin should just pop off. Like so. Full Terminator mode. It's just a bolt-on panel that goes on. And now we have access to our window regulator, which is all here. And as you can see, we have a snapped cable that is dead. So last thing we've got to get off just before we get to the regulator is this crash bar. Got some multi-torques there and some nuts on that end. This end is M8 multi-splines and this end is a 13mm nut. Comes off. Now we've got all the access. So as you can see, cables have just broken and that has actually pulled itself off there because all the cables have wrapped themselves around the spline. But it looks like it is an original VW part still. So nearly 250,000 miles still on the original one. So now we need to slide the window down a bit and then loosen these. These are just like clamps on the end. Pull that down, loosen them, take the window out, and then we've got access to all our bolts. Without the motor in, this should. And the cables are a bit bound up. So it won't let the regulator slide down because this cable is all mangled. So I'm just going to cut that so we can slide that down a bit. Like that. Now we can slide that down, loosen these two clamps with a T30. Just needs a few turns just to loosen it. And the glass should come out. Put that somewhere safe. So now let's have a look at our new bit. I went onto eBay, looked for a branded one. I used this Senko on my RS6 as well, and that's been perfectly fine. So that's 25 quid from Car Parts Direct on eBay. They do come with a nice little instruction pack showing you where all the bolts are. Full instructions, so it's a nice kit. And here is our linkage. So let's just double check that is the same. Yeah, that all looks good. So now we've just got one bolt, one bolt, one bolt, one each side there on this bracket. Then take these 4 off here. We've already got the motor off the other side, so this will just come off. And then it's just a direct replacement. And all off. And quite nicely, these top bolts actually stay on the spindles, so it gives you somewhere to hook it in to assemble it. And on. Slide the regulator down, put our glass back in. And on the new one, these are changed to 10mm bolts, not Torx. They still go in the same place, like that. Just nip them up. Clamp the glass in place. Right, back on the inside, we're going to put the motor back on so we can test it all before we put it all back together. And in the pack, it came with different screws for the motor. So where the thread's in here, it comes with new screws. So it just goes straight back on. Place of the old one. That, we're locked in. And we don't have to have this in a certain place because the motor's intelligent, so it finds it stops up and down. And these are Phillips instead of Torx. Plug it back in. We'll put the door card on, so we got our switch. Switch in, speaker on, handle on. That slides back on the top, like that. All right, let's give it a test. Down. And up. Perfect. Right, let's get this door panel back on. Crash bar back on. And if you want to be super particular, these are 20 Newton meters. Done. So like we saw on the bottom, it is a little bit rusty there. Obviously there's been a chip or something in the past, and that's just brought a bit of a scab around to the outside, which is just starting to come around the edge so you can see it. So I might see if I can find a second-hand door panel somewhere in the same colour, because we don't actually have to change the door. We can just change the panels like a smart car. So on the back here, where the bolts go on, there's a little peg just there. And there's another one on the bottom there. And they've got a couple of little locators in the bottom there and the bottom there. So it just allows you to get it on in the right place, but along the top, nothing actually attaches. Your weather strip stays on the door skin. So it's quite a funny setup. Bit, so you just locate it in the rear one first. Locate it there. Locate the front one in. And then put in all our bolts. And if you fancy it, there's even torque settings for the door skin. The top two are 10, the rest down the bottom are 14, all the way along the bottom are 10, and the same on the other side. The top ones are 10, the lowers are 14. 10, 10, 10 along the bottom, 10 on this top one, 14 on the rest. And then it's just the handle. So we've got our little screw going back in here, bracket back up to the door. We scoop our handle in, like that, making sure our little wire tab is not in the way. And forward, clip the wire back in, put our lock back in, through our little hole, push that all in, then we've just got to do this screw up till we hear the click, and that's everything pinging back into place. There it is, done up tight. Give it a test. Success. And then we've just got our last little trim piece to cover up our Mk5's secret. So from that, you'd never know. And don't forget, we have still got the Super On stickers still on sale. I've still got plenty of these left. So if you drop me an email, link down in the description, you can start your own sticker wall. And also, we've still got the sponsorship wall going. So when I extend the sticker wall, we're gonna have a big sponsorship board where you can have your name up here in the G-Unit. So you can have a nice little square, you can have a name, a little caption. There's a link for that down in the description as well. Click on Make Me a Coffee, put in your £2 and your little message, and you will be up on the sponsorship board when it extends. We've got lots of squares filled already, so I think I'm gonna have to make an even bigger sponsorship wall. And there we are, all back working just as it should be. So from the beginning, taking the whole door apart, it does look quite a complex task, but as you've seen, it's quite an easy procedure to follow, and with the door skin out of the way, access is actually much easier than a normal door. So make sure you give this video a like. Hopefully it'll be helpful for people in the future, but until then, make sure you have fun.